Hello! Hope you're having a great day so far. Today I'm going to show you a really fun and easy pattern for a crochet hat. Let's get to it! Okay, so we're going to start with a magic ring where you bring the ring around your two fingers like that. Put your hook in, pull through that yarn, and because we're going to be doing double crochets, we're going to chain 2 right here, and then we're going to do 11 more double crochet right into that ring there. And for a little refresher on the double crochet, you can watch this video. I'll put the link here. It's very simple. It's basically yarn over, insert hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So I'll finish this up and meet you at the end of this round. So you'll see I've made my chain 2 and then 11 more double crochet to count as 12 for the first round. Now you pull on the tail of the yarn. You want to pull it nice and tight as you can. And then we're going to go into that first stitch and do a slip stitch. Give that another tight pull there. Okay, now we're going to begin round 2. So we're going to chain 2, and for round 2 you do 2 double crochet into each stitch. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work my tail in under some of my stitches. So doing a double crochet, so in this case, because the chain 3 counts as a double crochet, so there's 2. Move on to the next stitch. One and 2. I'm going to give that tail one more tight pull and start working it under my stitches. So I'm going to just hold it up here, and when I go on to the next stitch, when I insert my hook, I'm going to make sure that that yarn is also getting worked over. So pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Second double crochet into that same stitch, yarn over, insert hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert into next stitch. As you can see, I've got my tail yarn there, so I'm just crocheting over that. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Second double crochet right back into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So I'm going to finish up this round and meet you back in a minute. Okay, so now you'll see I've gone around and done 2 double crochets in each stitch. And because this first row only has 24 stitches in it, I'm going to do a stitch. I don't know if you can see that right there. It's kind of right into where that very first chain is. Okay. There's that double crochet done. So we slip stitch into the first stitch of this round. And we're going to chain 2. So you'll notice that we're doing increases. An increase is when you do 2 stitches into the same stitch, and that's how we make this a circle. So double crochet into the next stitch there. And you'll see how there's a stitch that we've done 2 double crochets into. So that stitch there is where you're going to want to increase again. So another single crochet to get to that stitch. Sorry, another double crochet, 1 double crochet to get to that stitch. Then in this stitch we're going to increase. We're going to do 2 double crochet into that stitch. Crochet, then right back into the same stitch. So in this round we alternate 1 or 2 stitches every other stitch. So since we did 2 into that stitch, the next stitch we'll do 1. And the next stitch we'll do 2. One and 2. Double crochet into the next stitch. And 2 double crochet into the next stitch. 1 and 2. So these are all double crochet, and you do an increase, which is where you do 2 stitches into the same stitch at every other stitch. I'll get to the end of the round and meet you back in a minute. So now you'll see I'm to the end of this row. Same as before, slip stitch into the first stitch of the row, chain 2, which will count as the first double crochet, crochet, double crochet into that first stitch, just kind of almost the same stitch as that chain 2 is in. So in this round, we're going to increase every 3rd stitch. So that's double crochet, then 2 double crochet. So double crochet into the first stitch, double crochet into the second stitch, 2 double crochet into the 3rd stitch. And repeat that all the way around. Double crochet into the 1st stitch, double crochet into the 2nd stitch, 2 double crochet into the 3rd stitch. I'll finish this off and meet you back here in a minute. Okay, so finishing off round 4 here. Remember, in this round we've done double crochets with an increase every 3rd stitch. And slip stitch into that 1st stitch in the round. So as you can probably guess, in this we're going to do an increase every 4th stitch. Now you'll notice this is starting to look a little bit like the top of the hat. And remember the video on hook sizes if you wanted to have a slightly different look to your hat. So again, to start round 5, we chain 2, double crochet right into that stitch, double crochet into each stitch until you get to the 4th stitch. One, two, three, 4. So 2 double crochet into the 4th stitch. There's a couple of ways you can do it. You can wait until you get to the previous round's increase before increasing. Sometimes I like to mix it up a little bit. So you'll see I'm doing the increase on the stitch before. So 1, 2, 3, 4th. Double crochet for 3 stitches, and then on the 4th do an increase, which is 2 double crochet into the same stitch. I'll finish this up and meet you back in a minute. So here we are at the end of this round. Now you'll notice my last increase was back here, and then there were only 2 stitches left to do a single double crochet into each stitch. If you want it to be more exact, or you want it to be more flat rather than kind of curving like for a hat, then on your magic ring, instead of doing a chain 2 and then 11 double crochets, you would do a chain 2 and 12 double crochets. So that's what makes a difference there. And just as in every row, we're going to slip stitch that 1st stitch, chain 2, on that row, on the last row, it was an increase on every 4th. So this one will be an increase every 5th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll do 2 double crochet into this 5th stitch for an increase. And by using that basic formula of with each round that you add a number to the stitch that you'll count for the increase. So it's 1 because you do an increase in you do 2 stitches into every stitch on the first round, second round after the magic circle round. Then 2, this one's every other, every third, every fourth, now every 5th. And you can use that to make whatever size hat you want. You know, obviously if you're making a very small hat for a small Murti or a doll, then you would not need to do as many rows of increases. So I'm going to continue this row with an increase in every 5th stitch and meet you back here in a minute. Okay, so here we are back at the end of this round. And as always, we're going to slip stitch to connect the round and begin the next round by chaining 2. Now, depending on what size of hat you want to make is how many rows of increases you're going to want to do. The measurements that I was given for this hat is that it should be 17 inches. At the end of this row, it's about 14 inches. So if I do another round with the same increase pattern that we've been using, which would be every 6th stitch, it's going to be too big. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just do I'm going to just do an increase in 4 places. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not going to be exact, going to just be pretty much in those 4 spots. And I'll meet you back here at the end. So here we are at the last stitch of the round. And as always, slip stitch into the first stitch of the previous round. And from here for this hat, I'm not going to do any more increases. So once you get it to the approximate width that you want, maybe a little smaller, I find with myself that the straight rows can tend to get a little bit bigger. So the next thing is, as always, start with a chain 2. The important thing to remember is to begin each round with a chain 2 and join each round with a slip stitch. And then from here, I'm just going to do a double crochet into each stitch. No increases in the rest of these rounds. And some people, once they do several rounds of double crochet, they like to just leave the hat like that. I'm actually going to be finishing off with several rows of single crochet, and I will be back to show you how to do that after I get the hat about as long as I want it. Okay, so now I'm back at the last stitch of this round. Do a double crochet, slip stitch into the first stitch on that round. And with this, there's no exact set on how many rows or rounds of each that you need to do. I usually find that I do between 12 and 16 of the double crochet. And then the next thing is we're going to do a bunch of rounds of single crochet to make a band. And we are not going to join at the end of each round. We're going to work that in rounds. So I'll show you how we'll do that. First, we're going to chain 1 and then single crochet into that next stitch there. Insert hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. Pretty simple stitch, and we're just going to do this all the way around, and I will meet you back here when I get to the end of this round to show you how we continue without joining. Okay, so now I'm back close to the beginning of this round of single crochet. It's got a couple more, and then when you get back to the first stitch of that round, instead of joining with a slip stitch like you normally would, you're going to just work it just like another stitch. And the first couple might be a little tricky to get your hook in, but then after that, you basically just keep going around and around until you get it as long as you want. And I like to finish mine back near the same place where you can see that little seam from joining all the rows of double crochet. And to finish it off, you do, when you get kind of back to that beginning point, you do a slip stitch in the next 2 stitches, and then tie off, cut your yarn, and weave in the ends. And if you're not sure how to do that, I will be back in a minute to show you how to do that. So you can see I've done quite a few rows of single crochet here, and I'm back to the place where the seam is, the beginning. That's where we started our first rows of single crochet. So to finish it off, you do a slip stitch into the next stitch, and then a slip stitch into one more stitch, then cut your string, tie a knot, and weave in the ends. Now to weave in the ends, I like to, so after I've done that, I pull the yarn through this one again to give it a nice good tight knot. And then I like to kind of follow the pattern of the way the yarn is going for weaving in the ends. So here I would go into this next stitch so that it kind of follows that little V there. On the back, obviously, it doesn't matter as much, except that this is going to be folded up, so I still try to follow along the stitches so that that extra tail doesn't show up too much. And then you're finished. I hope that was easy to follow. My friend Malati has been asking me for a while to make a hat for her Srila Prabhupada Murti. So here he is wearing the hat. Thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day. Bye! Jaya Vrindavan
Govinda